Now, the next rhythm we're gonna do, with your steps. Number one, we want to rate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Heart rate is 90. All right? Is it regular or irregular? Now, this is going to be a little bit, I don't want to confuse you, but it's regular, because if I've covered this up right here, it's as regular as it can be. All right, and I'll tell you in a minute what this is right here, okay? It's actually where they're trying to fix that rhythm. Number 3. All right, and this is P wave. They all upright and normal in morphology, and does every QRS have one? Yes, they do, okay? If I cover this up, you see all the P waves is good. Mm-hmm. So your P waves are good. Number 4, PR interval. The only thing I want you to notice about that PR interval, boy, it is close. All right? Now, the thing I had to tell you about the PR interval so far in the beginning, and you know, I have to add stuff as we go. If I told you all at one time, you would have alphabet soup. So now that you look and you see this P wave is so close, you know that your PR interval can be no greater, that means greater than 0.20 seconds. Okay? But it also can be no narrower, okay, than 0.08 seconds, which is 2 small blocks. All right? And this is the reason why, because the closer you get to the P wave gets to the QRS, you're dealing with another problem. So that's why I want you to do this right here. So your PR interval is, I'm gonna say good, because it's right at that 0.08 mark. Now, your 5, which is your QRS, they are narrow. Now, this is the thing I want you to remember. This rhythm right here, you notice that this P wave right here is buried right up against them. Right. Okay? Now, notice right there, if you would take and tie this P wave up to here, on every one of them, they match. Okay? Like this one's gonna be a P wave too. This one's a P wave. So in other words, you're gonna have 2 P waves for every QRS. You see this F right here? Mm-hmm. That means flutter. What flutter is, you remember I told you atrial fib, when you're looking at it, looks like this right here. If you didn't look at the QRS, you just looked at the atrial. Okay? That's what it is. This right here is atrial flutter, which means it's slower, more calculated. Usually regular, because your QRSs have time to grab a P wave. Okay? Now, if your rate gets high, you're going to start to have P waves right on them, or QRSs right on them P waves like this, and they're going to be regular. Okay? So that is, the F means it's in flutter.
Bill, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You said there was 2 P waves?
Yes, I'm fixing to show you that.
Because I can't see from back here. It's my eyesight. So.
All right, look. This small one right here is a P wave. This one right here is a P wave. You see this going up right here like that? That makes this one a P wave. This one a P wave. This one is a P wave. This one is a P wave. The reason this one is not so tall is because you got a QRS complex right in the middle of it.
So the one to the right of the QRS complex, that's a P wave?
Where?
To the right of the QRS?
Yes.
Cause I thought.
Yes, those are P waves.
Oh, I
And the
thought it
reason
was
I said
P
that
wave.
this, you see this right here going across?
Uh-huh.
The reason that's not as high as these is because you got a QRS firing right in the middle of the P wave. Okay? Now, what you have to remember is you have to write this as 1, 2. So you have a flutter
Yeah.
with 2 to 1 conduction.
Right.
And what that means is for every 2 P waves, you have a QRS. Every 2 P waves, you have a QRS. And I know that looks like sinus tack, and that's why it's so hard. And that's why this guy right here, I told you not to worry about this. Well, let me tell you what this is now. You see that says vagal stimulation. In other words, he told him to bear down like he was having a bowel movement. And when that does that, it stimulates the vagus nerve. When he stimulates the vagus nerve, that is your feed or breathe, okay? Slow down. That's the one that affects your norepinephrine, not epinephrine, your norepi, which slows your heart rate down.
This way he will be able to see the rhythm better, right?
Exactly. That's why he done is slowed it down. So now he can see all these flutter waves in here. Okay? And that tells him right quick what his rhythm is. Now that he's got this, he can see that it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to count that P wave right up next to it. 5. So now it's a 5 to 1 conduction. Now, sometimes you may have one in here that's 5, then it goes to 4, then it goes to 5, and when you got over here to your rhythm where it's regular, you would have to write irregular on there because it's varying. And this is where you put a flutter with, see with a line over it means with, a varying rate of conduction. Okay, that means it's going, and you might want to put out to the side varying from 5 to 1 to 3 to 1. Okay? Because it can do that. It can be irregular because your flutter rates. All right, so if you looked at this rhythm right here on the monitor with no QRSs, like I showed you, it's going to be organized and slow. The rate's usually what? Right here, 250 to 400. Well, if you're dealing with atrial fibrillation, you're dealing with a rhythm that's 300, 350 to 750. Okay? This one is slower. That's why it's able to catch that rate. All right? And if you put atrial fibrillation beside this, it would look like that right there.
A little faster.
Okay? Because the rate on atrial fibrillation is so much faster. Okay? Now, so this right here would be atrial fibrillation. In any heart rhythm that is too fast and you need to see what the underlying rhythm is, you can do a vagal maneuver to stimulate it to slow down. Okay? So that's not a big deal, because if you have somebody with a rate that's really high, that's one of the first things you're going to do while you're preparing an IV and getting your medications is you're going to let them do a vagal maneuver and hopefully slow it down. That is one of your first lines of treatment. Okay? Okay? Now, let me go to my next slide.